Well, it was the end of 2017 when Judas Priest announced their upcoming 18th studio album, Firepower. And in January 2018, we were treated to two fantastic songs from the album. And then came along February to come piss in the fertilizer with the heartbreaking news of Glenn Tipton being unable to continue on with the band due to Parkinson's disease. And while he isn't technically leaving the band at all, he will be benched from touring, while Firepower co-producer Andy Sneap will rise up to the seemingly impossible challenge of replacing the metal guitar god himself. And speaking of metal guitar gods, retired metal god KK Downing released a controversial statement on Facebook, which I just want to say right now up front, KK Downing did absolutely nothing fucking wrong, you cunts.
You talk about the influence that you've had on many, many people, and one sitting across from you right now. And one of your teammates, your bandmates, Glenn Tipton, made news for a lot of people recently. And I'm not going to paraphrase, but if you could share with the Freak Nation, Glenn Tipton, who it's now known that he has had Parkinson's for 10 years, and it's just gotten to a point to where he needs to step back a little bit.
A little bit.
Can you share from your point of view, Rob Halford, of what's the latest with Glenn?
Glenn's in great shape, emotionally and physically. He can still play the guitar, albeit in a different way. Playing a track like The Painkiller takes a lot of precision, and one of the terrible symptoms of Parkinson's is that it affects the extremities, particularly your hands. Your hands shake, and it's difficult to hold them, secure, steady, which you need to do when you play guitar. However, Glenn has been battling with this for 10 long years from the first time that he was diagnosed, and we were all brought into the experience with him from when the story broke. We kept, the beautiful thing about Priest is that we're a family, and like most families, you keep certain things private and personal as they should be. And so for 10 years, Glenn has had Parkinson's, and he's been very active. He's been writing, recording, performing, doing all the great things that he loves to do. He is the consummate professional musician when it comes to performing on stage. So it was only, barely 2 weeks ago while we were back home in the UK in rehearsals, and he just said, guys, this is just too tough, I as bad as this is going to sound, I don't think that I'm going to be able to make the tour. And so we stopped and we sat down and we talked, and it was a very emotional exchange, as you could imagine. This guy lives to play guitar. He can still play guitar, but he can't do the stuff that he wants to do at the standard that he set himself. His professionalism is just, at the top. So again, it was, this isn't right for the band. It's got to be about the band. And this is a guy that's going through this and he's thinking about the band, And it's a little bit, again, I always correlate, don't I, guys? Being in a band is like being in sports, If you feel you can't give 100% or 1,000%, you have to consider what the options are. And so for Glenn, he's decided that he's going to step back a little bit, and he'll come out as and when he's ready to do some shows. That's the hope.
Before we get into the defense of KK Downing, I just want to say that this video will not be primarily comedic in nature, but more of a rant giving my heartfelt condolences to Glenn Tipton and Judas Priest, as well as defense on KK Downing, of course, whose statement was taken way out of context and has turned many Priest fans to jump down his throat and call him everything but a fucking child of God. With that, on with the video at hand. KK Downing's statement is as follows. The news that Glenn has finally been forced to come to terms with his unfortunate condition long-term came with deep regret and sadness for me. Equally, the ending of our guitar duo era is also something that I have come to terms with. The insatiable appetite that myself and Glenn had for creating inspired and unique music for the world to enjoy for many decades is something that could never be erased. However, everyone who has witnessed the evolution of our beloved music must come to terms with the fact that things will inevitably change or just simply end. I have to state with great sadness that I am also shocked and stunned that I wasn't approached to step into my original role as guitarist for Judas Priest. Whether I could have stepped back into the band or not, the potential for this situation arising never entered my head when I departed, although I am too officially and legally still a member of Judas Priest. However, I know now more clearly than ever that I did the right thing by leaving the band when I did, as it seems that my time spent in the band and my value in terms of crafting its huge legacy was unappreciated by more than just one member. I sincerely hope for the fans' sake that the decision not to approach me was not a financial one. I know Andy Sneap, and he is one of the greatest contributors to rock and metal that you will ever have the privilege to meet. To that end, I have no doubt that his contribution to the new Judas Priest album was much more than just a producer. All that's left for you, the fans, to do is go out and enjoy the band as it is, in order to complete part of music history in which every one of you has played such an important role. KK. Enter the armchair Facebook justice warriors with their poorly written, grammatically incorrect comments that were festooned with, "Go fuck yourself," and "You're good for speaking your own opinion." Fuck you. And while I will say, KK, you did in fact say that you had zero interest in ever rejoining Priest again after you retired, I can understand the rest of the band might not have thought about giving you a holler when it came time to replace Glenn. However, that is my full extent of my disagreement with KK here. I can at least understand his shock when he was not at least asked if he would like to consider rejoining the band, and while KK is certainly missed, I honestly do believe that the young twin guitar duo of the absolutely superb Richie Faulkner and Andy Sneap is a much better fit for the band, considering their youth and certainty to play these songs with laser-line precision, something Yannick Gurr should fucking take notes from, or else go prance off a stage and join a shitty hair metal band, you fucking idiot. I'm sure Faxel Rose could use a standby guitarist to prance around on stage with when he inevitably fucks shit up with Slash. But I digress. While I do think that Richie and Andy would be the best fit for this tour long-term wise, I really do think it's time for Priest to maybe start thinking about calling it a career. With the important twin guitar attack of the superb Glenn Tipton and KK Downing, it was a complete influence of the fucking 80s to begin with, and it was the biggest hook about Priest that it's just gone away now. And since Rob Halford's voice decided to call it a career in the late 90s, not even he really saves the band anymore. Hell, Ripper Owens' voice is, to this day, still perfect, and even him rejoining the band wouldn't even save it. Of course, bullshit controversies like KK's statement causing fans to make bullshit comments that were so bad it got to the point where KK had to actually make a second statement clarifying his original one because all these fucking pansies, and hell, even fucking Rob Halford, were misinterpreting it.
Rob, this morning I saw the news came out, and I wanted you to address it, and we'll move on, where KK Downing, former guitar player of Judas Priest, put out a statement in regards to Glenn Tipton and the usage of guitarists and to use another guitar. I want to set it straight. Let you take it from there, and we'll move on with what happened with this comment with KK Downing.
Well, let me just say that the great joy of Judas Priest is that we've never gone into this kind of arena of a public dispute, and it's so easy to fall into that trap in social media today. How many people have you seen in sports, for example, that have made a rash comment on Twitter just on the heat of the moment, emotionally? We're all human, we've all got feelings, and we have a tendency to blurt out the first thing that is on our minds, and rightly or wrongly, things can kind of come back and chase you afterwards in a negative way. So, with regards to everything that was made in that statement today, a lot of it, to me, is completely superfluous, but the one point that I would like to clarify and have on record is this insinuation that Andy Sneap was covering Glenn's guitar parts on Firepower, and I can categorically state that that is 1,000% false, because I was with Glenn for all of his guitar work, and he worked really, really hard. Imagine this guy in the 10th year of Parkinson's. I've never seen anybody so brave in the fact that, every song was a challenge for him to make it work, but he did, consistently, day after day. It was just a very, very powerful thing to experience firsthand. And this just goes to show you, as we said a little earlier, about the amazing stories that surround individuals around the world that are dealing with Parkinson's in their life. So thank you for that opportunity, Kenny. I just wanted to touch on that one issue, because out of everything that was laid out in that statement, that one hit me personally. And so now I've been able to clarify that and make sure that everybody out in the world listening to the show on the internet and elsewhere understands that everything that you hear from Glenn on Firepower is the amazing Glenn Tipton. Oh, yeah.
Hi everyone, just to clarify that my complimenting Andy Sneap as I did was no more than I would have said about any other guitar playing producers that have contributed much more than expected to our past albums. Great talent such as Chris Sangareet's R.I.P. and Roy Zed both not only produced but also contributed song ideas, riffs, licks, lyric ideas, etc. Consequently, albums like Painkiller and Angel of Retribution would not have been the same without them. Even George Martin, I believe, provided much more for the Beatles than just the role of a normal producer. An extra musician in the studio like the aforementioned talented producers really does bring great benefit. KK. So let me get this straight. Saying that Andy Sneap probably had more involvement in the album than just a producer causes cunts in a fucking rage of Eldorado of fuck you cunt comments when Chris Sangareets and Roy Zed did the exact same fucking thing? Gee, remind me never to mention that Chris Sangareets wrote the guitar riffs of A Touch of Evil, Lost and Found, and Metal Messiah, the former being on fucking Painkiller, and the latter two being on Demolition, but we won't hold that against them. And that Roy Zed wrote Deal with the Devil on the Angel and Retribution album. Oh yeah, clearly crimes punishable by death, am I right? Considering Andy Sneap is the reason Accept has released the greatest albums of their career, considering Andy Sneap is the reason Blaze Bayley's first 3 studio albums exist in the first place and are fucking excellent, considering Andy Sneap is probably the reason Judas fucking Priest's new album Firepower sounds like it's going to blow the last 4 Priest albums' hearts through their fucking spines, and let's not forget the pea-brained, mouth-breathing, man-boobed, knuckle-dragging schmucks. I believe Archie Bunker would call them, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh yeah, fucking meatheads.
No, let me tell you something, Mr. Stivic. You are a meathead. What did you call me? A meathead, dead from the neck up. Meathead.
With their hashtag not my priest going on how only 2/5 of the band are classic members, when a simple Google search will tell you that neither Rob Halford nor Glenn Tipton were, quote, original fucking members. Hell, besides KK Downing and Ian Hill, nobody on fucking Rock and Roll are original members of Judas Priest, and the original incarnation of Judas Priest didn't even have KK or Ian Hill, and was fronted by Al Atkins. I'd call you all cunt-sucking whores, but that would imply that your mouth has actually been anywhere near a cunt other than your fucking mother's at childbirth. Overall, I still tremendously respect Judas Priest and KK Downing, and my boner for Firepower can't get any fucking bigger. I absolutely can't fucking wait for March 9th, and you know I'll be first in line to pick up the new album. Along with Blaze Bayley, Godsmack, Megadeth, all of these upcoming albums this year, Judas Priest's Firepower is among my most anticipated of 2018. From what I've heard so far, I'm prepared to say that this new album will be Painkiller on fucking bath salts. I'm Baphömet. Some things are worth fighting for, Metal Maniacs, and this is certainly fucking one of them.
Never the hero.